Hi everyone. A little bit of a different aesthetic today. Long story. But I'm going to do a couple problems for you for your quiz tomorrow. So let's try number one. Okay. So let's say we had the function y equals sine, or let's make it 3 sine, 2 times the quantity of theta minus pi over 4 plus 2. Okay. First, we need to find our ABCDs, and then we need to graph this thing. So let's find our ABCDs first. A is the amplitude, which is the number in front, which will be 3. D is the vertical shift, which is the back, which is up 2. Be careful to tell me if it's up or down. B is going to actually be 2 pi divided by B. And now you see what we talked about in class today. The 2 here is out of the parentheses, meaning it was factored out. So this is my B value, 2. So then we're going to do 2 pi over 2, which is just pi. So that's my period. Then we'll find the phase shift. It's really nice when the B value is outside of the parentheses, because this is just going to be my phase shift. And that is going to be right pi over 4. Okay, so we found our ABCDs, so let's go ahead and graph this thing. Okay. First, we plot the phase shift, and the phase shift is right pi over 4. And that's my first value. Next, I'm going to add the period to the phase shift, so I'm going to add pi to this. So pi over 4 plus pi, get a common denominator. Right, so it's 4. So pi over 4 plus 4 pi over 4 is 5 pi over 4, which is my 5th value. Okay. So this is 1 pi over 4 to 5 pi over 4. The middle is going to be 3 pi over 4. Right, because the difference between 1 and 5 is 4. So I have to divide that by 2. So subtract 5 or add 1. Thank you. And then we will find the intermediate points. So 2 pi over 4 and 4 pi over 4. Okay, so we've got our 5 values. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some points. Or first we'll make our vertical shift and then our amplitude. Vertical shift is up 2. So let's just say that that's 2. We'll dash that line. We'll dash that line. Then we'll apply the amplitude to the phase shift. So this is going to be 3 plus 2, which is 5. And that's a solid line. And then we also have to do 3 below the 2. So negative 1. I feel like we did this one in class. So there's our roadmap right here. It's sine, and there's no negative in front, so sine starts in the middle anyway. Right? So it starts in the middle, or the dashed line here. I'm going to go up on the second value, back to the middle, to the bottom, and then back up to the middle. Relax, pal. You all right? Okay. So I got my graph. Last thing is our new characteristic, the increment, which is also called the frequency. And the increment is just the difference between our first value and our second value, or our second and third, or so on and so forth. So the difference between 1 pi over 4 and 2 pi over 4 is 1 pi over 4. Okay, so pi over 4. A good way to remember this is, for the increment, just take whatever the period is and divide that by 4. So the period was pi, so pi over 4. Okay, that's a good way to remember it. So star that. Okay. All right. Let's try one more. Let's go. Let's go 2 cosine x minus pi over 2 minus 4. Okay. This one's a little easier than the first one because we got less stuff to do. So let's find the ABCDs. A is the number in front, so it's 2. D is the number in back, so down 4. Okay. B, there is no B value, right? There's no number here and there's no number on the outside. So that means that this is 2 pi over 1, or just 2 pi is the period. My C value is just this, right? So right pi over 2. Okay. So let's graph. Right pi over 2 is my first point. Then I add the period, so 2 pi plus this. So pi over 2 plus 2 pi, or 2 pi over 1. Get a common denominator. This is pi over 2 plus 4 pi over 2, which is 5 pi over 2. Okay. So my fifth value is 5 pi over 2. So that's 1 pi over 2 to 5 pi over 2, distance of 4. Again, very strange. So we've got a 3 pi over 2 here, which means my intermediate values are pretty similar to the first problem. Okay. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. Okay. Let's apply, or let's draw the midline and the amplitude. So down 4 is actually kind of gross. Pretend I didn't draw this like this. That's -4 down 4. And the amplitude's 2, so this is going to be down at -6 and up to 2, -2. Okay, sorry about the down 4. I just made that up. Okay, let's make some points. This is cosine, and there's no negative in front, which means it starts at the top. Cosine always starts at the top, unless there's a negative. To the middle, to the bottom, back to the middle, to the top. There we go. Okay. Last problem, which is a little weird, but I want to show it to you anyway. If I can change this page. There we go. Okay. That's clearly the bulk of the problems here. Let's say I gave you something like this, though. You might be wondering what I'm doing. I'm wondering the same thing. That's not funny. Probably should have had this drawn out before I got started. I apologize. That won't work. Okay. So let's say we have this nonsense. Sorry, they don't connect. So what can we take out of this? Well, we know that the center goes through 6 on the y-axis, right? And we know that we can go up a distance and down another distance, right? So what can we derive, or what can we get out of this if I'm talking about A, B, C, and D, right? Well, let's think about this for a second. Let's start with the easiest thing, D. What would the D value be, or the midline value be of this? Well, take a look at what the midline goes through. It goes through all of these 6s, which means that the D value is up 6, okay? Because it's the middle. What's the amplitude, though? What am I going up to, And what should this question mark be if I was going down? Well, take a look at it. From midline up to the top is a distance of how many vertical? Well, from 6 to 10. So 4 up. So if it goes 4 up, that means it has to go 4 down, which means that this question mark needs to be a value of 2, right? Because if I went from 6 to 10, that's up 4, and 6 minus 4 is 2. So my amplitude should be 4 here, okay? Now, the phase shift is this first value, this first point. What did I go to the right? I went to the right 2 units. So I went right 2 units here because 2 is an x value. So the phase shift was right 2. Okay? Now, what about the b value? Well, the b value here would be the period. Well, where does this thing start to repeat, or right before it starts to repeat? Well, if we started at 2.6, I can certainly go to 8.6, and then I go down to 10, and we knew this is 2 now. But then I go up to 14.6, all right? This is where it starts to repeat, or just before it starts to repeat, right? Because it's like from the beginning of the graph to my hand. That's 1 full cycle. So what is that period? It's from 2 to 14, or 12. Now the problem with that is it's not actually 12. Yeah, it looks like 12, but we have to implement radians into this thing. So here's what we do. 12 equals 2 pi divided by b, because 12 is the result of doing this calculation. So let's do this. Let's multiply by b on both sides. Oh, hey, buddy. That hurts. Please don't do that. 12b equals 2 pi. And I want to solve for b, so I'm going to divide by 12 on both sides. Oh, that's a nice boy. b is going to equal 2 pi over 6, or 2 pi over 12, which is 1 pi over 6, or just pi over 6. So the period is pi over 6. So that's how I do this. So you're going to get a graph that looks something like this tomorrow. And you're going to try to find all these a values, b values, c values, and d values. And you can do that just from this graph. The hardest part of this is finding the b value. So remember, let's figure this. To find the period, just count how many I move from the first x value c to the repeat. So 2 to 14 is 12. And we have to do 12 equals, hey, don't do that. That's bad. That's bad. And 12 is going to equal 2 pi over b, multiply by b on both sides, and we'll have our answer. I'll do a problem like this in the morning before we get started, though. Okay? Bye-bye.